So now that we have questions in our bank, it's time to actually make the test. So first we'll go up to this tab at the top where it says Tests. If you have already made some other ones, they'll be listed here. But if we're going to create a new one, we'll click the button that says New Test. So give your test a name. Decide what category it will be saved under. If you've made other ones, again, they'll still be here. I'm going to stay with the generic tab for now. And then we go to start asking questions. Now, when it first brings it up, it'll bring up a couple of things to look at. The first thing to pick through is this up here where it decides if you want to have fixed questions or random. Random question means that not all students will have the same questions. So you can pick from a bank of questions and it'll assign a certain amount of them to each student. If you want all students to have the same questions, then that would be fixed questions. You can either start with adding another one where you're writing it like we did when we were in the bank, or we can select from ones that we have stored in our bank. If you've made different classes worth of stuff and you've stored them in different categories, all of your questions will be listed here. So if you want to specifically pick just one category of question, come up to the category filter and pick the category and say go. And this will pull up any of the questions that you've made in that particular category. And the easy way to get them on the test is you push the button that says Add Question to Test. Once they've been added, then you can go back to test. Now, this is where we now can look at which questions we have and what settings we may want to start putting on it. So once we've decided we've got all the questions we want, we do Assign and select Settings. So the first is we're going to assign it to a specific group. So in this case, we're going to pick our lovely sample group from earlier. You can assign it to more than one. So if you have more than one section of a class that you'd like to assign it to, you can do that here. Then we're going to pick all of the details about how this test will be presented to the students. So the first thing is to decide when you want it to be available to them. If you want it to be immediately available, you can click that button. If you want to have it available only during certain times, you can schedule when the window will be open for the students to use it. They can start the test anytime between your start and end times or dates. The next thing is deciding how many times they get to try it. Assuming that's a summative, probably most of us will just pick one, which is the default. But if you want to let them have another shot at it or as many shots as they want, you can choose that here as well. After that, the next one is one that I like. So any of the settings that you pick here, it'll essentially summarize them and put them as page 1 of your test so that it gives kids all of the information they need to know about how it's going to be presented. So can they move forward and backward? What is their time limit? Can you change answers? Those sort of things. Then after that is the how long. So if you want to put a time limit on your test, this is where you put it. If not, you can leave it blank and they would have unlimited time. But if you want to keep it to a specific class length or something like that, this is where you put in the time. This button will allow them to, if it defaults to not being checked, meaning that they cannot stop it and come back later. If you want them to have that option, you just check the box. Then down here, we look at how they get to see the questions. In this one, I choose to have them do one per page. You can put more than one if you want to, but I find that having one on a page has been helpful for the kids. I also like to have that the points are displayed so that they know how much each question is worth. If they're all worth the same, you may not want to have that one checked. The next one is, do you want the order of the questions to be random? So if you want students to not have the same questions as each other, or the same order of questions, then this is the box to check. If you have them in a specific order where one should follow the next, then this would not be the box to check. This one, it defaults to that they must answer questions. So this would mean they could not leave anything blank. If you want to allow them to leave it blank, you can uncheck that box. Down here, this would allow them to move forward and backward during the test, so that if it's not checked, they can only move forward. This one would be good for formatives because this box would allow you to give them feedback and then they could try again. They could review it. They do warn you that you shouldn't have instant review and change answers both on unless you want everybody to go ahead and figure all the answers out and get 100. Down here, you can actually set what you want the pass rate to be. The school defaults at 62, so that's the one I've put in before. And then when the test is finished, if you want to leave them a message, congratulations on finishing or whatever, that's just where you would put it. Then we get down to this last one down here. It defaults to that they cannot print from this page, which means they also cannot copy and paste from your test. It will not allow that to be done, which keeps them from being able to share that with other people. So once you've decided what you want your test to, how you want your test presented, you click Assign. At this point, it's now technically assigned to the group, but it probably is not yet visible to them unless you made it visible. If you would like to email them, when we set up your groups, if you put their emails in, you can send a message to them letting them know that it's ready or when it's ready. And before you publish, if you would like to look at what the test is going to look like for the students, there's a preview button that allows you to look at it. So this is what the first page of their test would look like, where it has all the instructions, how long they have, those sort of things. And then when they start, it'll have the different questions that they get to answer through. One of the nice things about this one is that on these boxes where they're typing, they have the ability to expand the box so that if they want to type longer and be able to see all of it, they can do that. And then they can keep going through selecting different answers. Now, they can obviously move forward and backwards, but one of the other features that's nice is that you can actually look at questions they've already been to, and they can jump backwards or forwards so that they don't have to just be back, back, back. It can actually be a jump to whichever question they want to go to. Once they get to the last question and answer the last question, they then click Finish Now. If their time runs out before they finish, it will just report whatever they have last answered as much as they have gotten to. And at that point, then it would actually be done with the setting up of the test. It would then be issued to them. And then you can look later, we'll talk about what you do when you see the answers to those questions and how to score it.